Welcome once again, myself, Captain Ramdas Jamnuke, Assistant Professor, Department of Economics, Mahatma Phule SC College, Parvel, Navi Mumbai. Dear student, today we are going to discuss about the factors inhabiting industrialization in India. India is one of the biggest country in the world, having the good industrial area or industrial product, but there are many obstacles in industrial development in India, or there are many problems. Today we are going to discuss in detail about the major problem and obstacle. So that is the first, poor capital formation is the problem of the Indian industrial area. Poor rate of capital formation is considered as one of the major constraint which has been responsible for slow rate of industrial growth in India. Second, that is the political factor. During the pre-independence period, industrial policy followed by the British ruler was not at all favorable for the interests of the country. Thus, India remained as a primarily producing country during 200 years of the British rule, which ultimately related an industrial development of the country in the period. Third, that is the lack of infrastructure facility. India is still backward in respect of its infrastructural facility, and it's an important impediment toward the industrialization of the country. Thus, in the absence of proper transformation, rail and road, and communication facility in the many part of the country, industrial development could not be attained in those regions in spite of having high development potential in those areas. Dear student, if there is not a good infrastructure in the country, there are number of the problem arise to development of industrial area, and India is still suffering to lack of infrastructure. Fourth, that is a poor performance of the agriculture sector. Dear student, agriculture sector is one of the important sector in India because still there are 60% people directly or indirectly depend on agriculture sector. So industrial development in India is very dependent on the performance of the agriculture sector. Thus, the poor performance of the agriculture sector resulting from natural factor is also another important factor responsible for the industrial strength in the country. Agriculture provides not only a raw material for and food stuff, but also generate demand for the good produced by the industrial sector. It means whatever the produced by the industrial sector, that will be sale if there is increase in the income of the agriculture sector. So thus this poor performance of the agriculture sector is also affect the development of industry in India. If agriculture sector is developed or continuously perform well, its positive impact on industrial area also. But this is not happening in continuously in Indian agriculture sector. Another point, that is the gap between the target and achievement. When we are talking about the 5-year plan, there are a number of the plan in which we have decided the targets that are not achieved. There are few exemptional cases in which we have get the targets in, especially I am talking about the 1990s industrial sector, again miserable achievement in the target. It means in 1990 we have also not achieved the target. It is only the duration of the 6 and 7 5-year plan we achieve the target, but the rest of the plans we are not achieve the targets, and its impact on industrialization or industrial development. Another major problem, that is the dearth of skill and efficient personnel. The country has been facing the problem of the dearth of the technical and efficient personnel required for the industrial development of the country. In the absence of the properly trained and skilled personnel, it has become very difficult to handle such highly sophisticated computerized machineries necessary for industrial development of the country. Moreover, inefficiency insincerity of those personnel engaged in the industrial sector has been resulting in the hug wastage of the resources of the industrial sector. Moreover, Social factor like immobility of the labor and capital and lack of incentive and enterprises of the part of the people of India are also highly in for this slow piece of industrialization in the country. Number 7, that is elite oriented consumption. In recent years, a strong tendency to reduce rich man's good has been established among the large industry houses. According to the production of the white goods like refrigerators, washing machine, air conditioner, etc., expanded substantially along with the other luxury products. But the production of the commodity for mass consumption has recorded a slow growth rate. This clearly reveals a distortion of the output structure of the Indian industry, resulting in a recessionary tendency in the market of those luxury products in the recent years. It means that the Indian industrial sector are going to highlight only for the luxurious commodity, but as far as essential commodity is concerned, there is not a good production in country. 8 number, that is the concentration of the wealth. This is one of the major problem, dear student. If the wealth is concentrated only a few people, that is not a development, or that is not an economic or industrial development. We are going to discuss about the concentration of the wealth. Concentration wealth means the pattern of the industrialization in the country has been resulting in the concentration of economic power in the hand of the few large industries houses, and thus failed to achieve the objective of the planning regarding the concentration of the wealth and economic power. Dear student, if the power is concentrated in a few people, there is not a good sign for a country as a whole. As for example, Tata with 38 companies substantially increased their asset from rupees 375 crore in 1963-64 to rupees 14,676 crore in 1991-92. Means how many changes in their wealth. I am talking about especially Tata. This is not happening about the Tata. There is a Adani, there is a Reliance, and there are a number of the companies in the private sector. Their assets are continuously increasing than the rest of the companies or the rest of the people. It means the concentration of the wealth among only few people of the country, and the rest of the people are having only 20% wealth of the country, and 80% wealth is only concentrated on the few people like this. So this is one of the major problem of India's industrial development. Again, poor performance of the public sector. Public sector, in spite of attaining a substantial expansion during the planning period, the performance of the public sector enterprises remain all along very poor. A good number of such enterprises are incurring hug losses regularly due to its faulty pricing policy and lack of proper management, necessitating hug budgetary provision every year. Thus, the public sector investment failed to generate required surplus necessary for further investment in industrial sector of the country. Dear student, actually the public sector enterprises are established for the economic growth of the country at the time of the independence. But continuously the performance of the industrial sector of this MNC is poor. So automatically government has accepted the policy, that is the disinvestment policy, and through this disinvestment policy, government of India is continuously privatization of these public sector enterprises. So this is one of the major problem in Indian industrialization. Number 10, that is the regional imbalances. Concentration of the industrial development into the some few states has raised another problem of imbalances in industrial development of the country. Western region comprising Maharashtra and Gujarat attain maximum industrial development, whereas the plight of the poor state are continuously being neglected in the process of industrialization of the country in spite of having a hug development potential of their own. Although hug investment in the public sector has been made in the backward state like Bihar, Orissa and Madhya Pradesh, but the trickling down effect of such investment were not also visible. Various fiscal incentive, capital subsidies, and other facilities introduced for industrial development of the backward area were mostly channelized to develop industries in the backward areas to develop state, leading a gross neglect of the demand of backward state. Dear student, if you think about India's industrialization, Maharashtra, Gujarat getting the highest industries in this area, but the rest of the states are still waiting for industry. It means there is a concentration of the industry. So this is one of the problem, that is a regional imbalances. It means that only few states getting the highest industrialization and rest of the states are still waiting to their industrial development. Then industrial sickness. This is one of the important or major problem of industrial development. Another peculiar problem faced by the industrial sector of the country, it is the growing sickness due to the bad and insufficient management. If the management is not good, automatically the industry will not properly run and ultimately goes into the losses. So as per the Reserve Bank of India estimate, as the total number of the sick industry unit in India were 1,71,316 as on 31st March 2003. And these sick industries unit had involved an outstanding bank credit to the extent of rupees 34,815 crore. That is one of the major problem. The Reserve Bank of India estimate further disclosed that every 7 small scale unit in the India was sick at the end of December 1983. Thus, this growing sickness of the industrial unit has resulted in a hug problem in the path of industrial development of the country. It means industrial sickness is one of the major problem for industrial development. Means after 7 industry, there is a one industry having sickness problem. So this is one of the serious problem facing industrial sector in India. Last, regime of the state controls. Look at that once again. Regime is one of the important, because if the law and regulation are favorable for the industry, then industrial development will increase. Lastly, industrial inefficiency resulting of perpetuation of regional state control and regulatory mechanism are standing in the path of industrialization of the country. In recent years, the government has undertaken some serious measures to make necessary economic performance reforms in the industrial structure of both public as well as the private sector of the country. Government always taking some initiative to economic growth and changing their policy, and that policy will be stimulate or increase the industrial development. Although these measures are quite challenging in the nature, but expected to the much headway in removing various obstacles now in above also in attaining industrial development of the country. So